To 30 minutes of prenatal yoga. My name is Megan. I will be guiding us through today. Today's class is focused on helping you create space for both you and your baby, especially in your third trimester. It can feel like there's just not a lot of room. So my goal at the end of this class is to leave you feeling a bit more at ease. We're going to start our practice today in child's pose, bringing your knees wide, your toes to touch, and your forehead down to the ground. Of course, if you have pillows or blankets, yoga blocks, anything that can help you find comfort throughout your practice, please use those tools. So starting in child's pose, and if you have props that might be helpful for you, you might place them under your chest. Another option is to take the hips a little bit higher. Starting here by bringing awareness to your breath. Allowing your body to make the transition from your day onto your mat into your yoga practice. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe you walk your hands to the right and then bring your forehead back down to the ground. Notice the sensation on the left side of your body. Each inhale, creating space between your ribs. And each exhale, settling into the space you've created. Take yourself the opposite direction. Back to center, pause, and then rising up to hands and knees. Maybe you let your hips dip forward a bit as we just take this back and forth rocking motion. Now this motion can also be really helpful for early labor. Rocking your way forward, bring your knees underneath your hips, slightly angle your hands inward, and then lower your nose to the ground. Now with your nose touching your mat, feel your shoulder blades coming together. Push the ground away, all the way up so that there's rounding through the upper back as your shoulder blades move away from your spine. And then we're just going to go up and down, creating space and strength in your upper back. One more. Really good job. Place your hands under your shoulders. Take a big exhale and hover your left knee a little bit off of the mat. Extend that leg long and then bring your left knee back to hover. Just taking this a few times, keeping your baby hugged in towards your spine, creating a little bit of core stability. Now the next time your leg is long behind you, let's hold it right there. Hover your right hand off the mat and then reach long in front of you. Bring your knee back down to the ground and with your right arm, make really big circles. We'll push into the left hand, right arm all the way up to the sky. scoop that arm through, bringing your temple down to the ground. A couple of options here. You might stay as you've landed or lift the wrist off the ground, find a little pressure. The third choice would be to take your left hand to your low back. So maybe you just play with those three options and see what feels best for you today. Bring your left hand under your shoulder, push into the ground, reach right arm up to the sky, and then bring it back down to your mat. Knees go wide, toes touch. Little rocking back and forth, creating that beautiful space in your hips. Knees come underneath hips. This time, right knee hovers. Extend the leg long. Bring your knee back down to hover. Extend it long, down to hover. Extend long, down to hover. This time, holding that leg long behind you, left hand hovers, arm reaches away. Your baby's getting a solid hug in. Bring your right knee down to the mat and make nice, big swimming strokes, creating space every time you move through. Push into your right hand, left arm reaching up to the sky, and then scooping through, temple down to the ground. And remembering the choices you had from that first side, staying as you landed, lifting the wrist up, pushing the ground away, or back of the right hand to your low back. Right hand under right shoulder, lift all the way back up to the sky and return it down to the ground. Hands a little bit wider than shoulders. We're doing another round of these push-ups with our nose coming to the ground and shoulder blades moving away from your spine. Two more. Adjust your hands so the index fingers are parallel with each other. Tuck your toes and send your hips skyward. Now here you might pedal out your feet. Maybe you take a little sway of your hips from side to side. Just noticing how this downward facing dog is feeling for you today. If you're dealing with nausea, indigestion, down dog might not feel good. So if that's happening for you, tabletop or child's pose is a good alternative. Walk your hands up to the top of your mat and keeping your legs plenty wide so it feels like you have lots of room for your baby. Now once you get here, maybe take a gentle rock side to side. Let's lengthen into halfway lift, hands at legs or blocks, and then down to your forward fold. Moving through that a few times. Half lift, forward fold. Half lift, forward fold. Push into your strong legs, reach all the way up to the sky, and then moving to a side body stretch. Just like when we were on that child's pose, with each inhale, create a little bit more space between your ribs. With your exhale, invite your body to settle in. Change direction. Back to center. Hands come behind you, elbows towards each other, heart lifting up towards the sky. Come back to neutral. Big reach up as you separate your legs so you have space for your baby. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, heart. Inhale, reach up, little baby back bend. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. All the way up, big reach up, and then draw your hands down towards your hips. Make some really nice big hip circles. And then change direction. Bring your feet underneath your hips. Sit down. We'll keep our right leg forward and left leg is going to come to hover. So just that little hover off the mat as you're leaning forward. Step your left foot back. Let your arms come up to the sky, warrior one. Goal post your elbows, send your heart skyward. And then exhale, leaning forward like you're hugging a really big tree. We'll just move between these two shapes. Connecting your movement to your breath, creating space for you, space for your baby. Good job. Bring your hands to your heart. Let your back heel lift up, and then exhale, pull your baby in. This is your first choice. Your second choice is to tick-tock forward, lifting the back leg up off the ground. And breathe. If your leg is lifted, bend the standing knee, reach your leg way back, and we're going to meet in this high lunge with the back heel lifted. Bring your hands down inside of your front foot and left knee down towards the ground. Now you might use some blocks or pillows, just something to get your hands a little higher if this feels like too much. We don't need to be all the way at the end of the range of motion here, maybe about 70% of the way. And taking time to just let your heart rate slow down to sink into the space that you've created. Maybe you stay right here, or maybe you heel toe your right foot wider, bring your hand to your right knee, push it open, and then lift your right shoulder up to the sky. If your right shoulder's lifted, gently bring it down. Heel toe your foot back in. Tuck your back toes under, lift the thigh up. Here comes a little bit of a tricky transition, but I know that you can do it. We'll walk our hands towards the long edge of our mat. The toes are going to follow, and then taking a nice deep bend into the right knee. Bring your left hand to your low back, and then lift your left shoulder towards the sky. Let your shoulder come down. We're going to straighten the right leg as our hands move towards the long edge of the mat. Now you might adjust the width of your feet here as your arms reach way out in front of you and your head dips down. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Take an exhale, arms out to a capital letter T, and then rising up. Turn your right toes back to the top edge of your mat, bend into your right knee, flip your right palm, reach up and back. Bring your right elbow down to your right thigh and then reach away from your left foot with the left fingers. Breathing space. Just notice where you're feeling this. Maybe it's in the ribs. I usually feel it down in my hip. And breathe into that spot, creating space right there. Back to your warrior two, and then step up to the top edge of your mat. Bring your hands down alongside of you. Find your deep breath. Reach your arms all the way overhead, side body stretch. And changing direction. Back to your neutral. Hands support back, elbows back, heart to the sky. Back to your neutral, separating your feet, taking those nice big hip circles again. Let's shift direction. Back to center. Sit down. This time left foot stays in front, right foot steps back, both arms reaching up. Choices here. Choice to remain still or goalpost and then hug. If you're moving, start to connect your breath to your movement. Inhale as you goalpost, exhale as you hug. Coming back up, hands to heart. Back heel will lift. You're leaning forward, giving your baby a solid hug in. Maybe you stay here. Maybe the back leg lifts. Bend the standing knee, right leg reaches way back, high lunge. Let's bring the hands down inside of your left foot, right knee down to the ground. Untuck the back toes. And this is a really good spot, again, to use those props, to use the tools that you might have. Can you scan your body? Observe where you're feeling this pose. And as you breathe in, imagine your breath going directly to that spot. As you exhale, imagine tension being carried away and space being left where that tension was. Heel toe your left foot a little bit wider. Ground your right hand down, left hand to left knee. We're going to open up the leg as the left shoulder twists towards the ceiling. And then dropping left shoulder, heel toe your foot back in. Back leg is going to tuck the toes, lift the right thigh up. Hands walk back towards that long edge of your mat, this time a deep bend into your left knee, and then opening up right arm towards the sky. Bring your right arm down, press into your left leg to straighten. Hands are going to walk way out in front of you, maybe adjusting the width of your legs so that your head can become heavy and you're creating lots of space in your back. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders, extend those arms out. Rise up. Left toes turn back towards the top of your mat. Bend your left knee. And then staying in this warrior two. Flip your left palm, reach up and back. elbow to left leg. Reach your right hand away from the back of your right foot. Back to your warrior two. Step both feet up to the top of your mat. One last time. Some nice hip circles, or maybe you start to make figure eights with your hips. Change direction. And then sweep both arms up to the sky. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Bring your hands down to your mat. Step your legs back until you're in a tabletop. Exhale, tailbone drops down to the ground. Push that mat away. Inhale to neutral, creating space across collarbones. Just one more time. Exhale, tailbone points down, chin to chest. And unwind. Good job. Let's keep our hips over the knees and then just sitting up on knees. Take your hands to your low back, draw your elbows back, lift your heart towards the sky. Breathe. Back to your neutral. Come to tabletop. Elbows go down to the ground. Now spread your fingers nice and wide. Push the mat away. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and then walk your feet in as much as you can, thinking about someday, one day, the hips stacking over the shoulders. Bring your knees down to the ground, untuck your toes, sit hips back to heels, land right here. So those few shapes are a variation from spinning babies, which it sounds like the idea is to flip the baby, but really the idea is to take up, you've made all this space, right, throughout our yoga practice in your body. And then we're creating just that little bit of extra space with our heart lift. You go upside down so your baby falls out of the pelvis. And then when you sit calmly, your baby can settle into a very comfortable position. Let's try it just one more time. Rise up, hands support your low back. Lift up, breathe. Back to your neutral. Hands come down to the ground, then elbows. Now keeping this very active, push the mat away, draw your shoulder blades down, tuck your toes, lift your hips, and then walk the toes in if you're able. Bring your knees to the ground, untuck your toes, sit back, let your hands rest on your thighs or maybe resting on your baby. Take your shoulders over your hips, your ears over your shoulders. And with each breath out, feel your heart rate slowing down. Your exhale long and smooth. The crown of your head reaching up towards the sky. If you haven't already, take a hand to your heart, a hand to your baby. Feeling this connection between the two of you. And giving yourself a big thank you for taking this time to take care of you, and knowing that as you take care of yourself, you're also taking care of your baby. Let this breath go. Take a full breath in and release. Thank you for practicing. The light and the love within me sees and honors the light and the love within you. Namaste.